And it really is stunning how quickly a quarterback can be sent to the bench when that huge investment is made at the top of the draft. We now have 2 of the top 4 picks from 2023 quarterbacks who have been benched. Number 1 overall, Bryce Young, was benched after 2 weeks. He came back this past weekend because Andy Dalton was injured, and he did nothing to make anyone think he's going to win that job back. And then yesterday we got the word that the guy who tapped out on Sunday and the guy who's backed up by the 2023 NFL Comeback Player of the Year, Anthony Richardson, is benched by the Indianapolis Colts. Sunday Night Football, we'll see Joe Flacco against the Minnesota Vikings. What was your immediate reaction when you heard that yesterday?
I wasn't surprised. I think especially once you sign Joe Flacco in the offseason, like you said, coming off Comeback Player of the Year, we saw what he did in Cleveland the season before. You kind of added some pressure. And I know they've talked about how good their relationship is and, nothing matters on the outside what people are saying. They just have this solid relationship. But again, it goes to what are you going to win right now? And I understand it's all about winning games now and in the current day, stay present, so you insert Flacco. But ultimately, do the Colts have an opportunity to win the Super Bowl? And I think they must feel that way, that they have the opportunity to win the Super Bowl once you do this, because now you're taking Richardson off the field, and we started the show with the soundbite of he needs more reps. He'd get better with reps. And, Jason Garrett a few weeks ago said on our show, it's a two-way street. He said it on Football Night in America. Just because you take a guy off the field doesn't mean you can't bring him back. But I just think it's really hard to bring guys back, and we saw that with Bryce Young. Yep, an injury happens, you get to bring him back. He opens the game with a nice drive down the field. The Carolina Panthers go and score 7, and you're like, okay, maybe him sitting has helped, and look, he looks like he's ready to go. Rest of the game, you got nothing. So to me, to take your organization and say we're investing in Richardson, and now, just a year later after him getting hurt last year, so losing out on his rookie season, for the most part, you take them off the field. It just feels like you're kind of throwing your future into the garbage can right now. And, maybe next year or in 2 years, we see the Colts back at the top of the draft, drafting another quarterback, starting this thing all over again. So I wonder, is this the right decision? Are you moving in the right direction? But I understand for players now, you would want to see Flacco on the field.
When they drafted Anthony Richardson, they knew that he was raw. This gets back to the whole how much has a guy played in college versus how much hasn't he played. And we see guys that have played a lot of football at the college level end up figuring things out pretty quickly. In some cases, you still have to have the skills. The thinking with Richardson is he's got the skills, he just needs the reps. Last year, he was limited to 4 games because of injury. And this year, 4 starts. This year, he'll have 6 starts, and he was injured in the game against the Steelers, and there was just too much of an erratic playing style. The stat line at one point on Sunday against the Texans was 2 for 13 for 81 yards and a 69-yard touchdown. And it really is like roller coaster, good and bad, up and down, and it's fun to watch if you're not a Colts fan because you never know when that big moment's going to come. But when you're a Colts fan, it's like, we could kind of use that big moment. And it's the old Bill Walsh line, too, that Peter King would always use on this program. If I can see a guy do a thing one time, I can coach him to do it all the time. For the life of them, they can't coach Anthony Richardson to do that spectacular thing on a regular basis. And win now versus develop. Win now versus develop. And I look at it this way. If the Colts don't win now and they develop Anthony Richardson into a guy who can win by next year, Shane Steichen may not be there to enjoy the fruits of that work. Chris Ballard, the GM, may not be there to enjoy the fact that, hey, we've unlocked a higher potential in Anthony Richardson. And then you got the locker room. That's the thing that always gets overlooked in these decisions. How much is the locker room going to tolerate an effort to coax a guy and get a guy reps and get him to get toward whatever his ceiling is versus we got a guy who can win football games. We got a chance to make the playoffs. What are we doing here? I'm out here busting my ass. It's kind of like what the Browns went through. The difference is the Anthony Richardson contract isn't the ball and chain that keeps them from making the move.
Exactly. And you said it, when you're 2 of 13 in a game and you're, 50% or below in your completion percentage, as a team, you're starting to look at the game and you're just like, it doesn't matter what we do. And we talked about this previous weeks with Deshaun Watson, him being in Cleveland, that the overall play of the team starts to suffer because you have a guy playing quarterback. And we all know how important the quarterback position is in this NFL. If you don't have a quarterback, you don't have a shot. So when you look at that, you start to see, I think, as a coach, you start to kind of step back and evaluate your team. What are you seeing week in and week out? What are the things we're struggling with? And I think when you start to see the overall play of your team, feeling like you lost hope and those different things, I think you make this decision. The hard thing is the Colts are still kind of in this race. And maybe as you play, as it looks like Houston's going to be the team to beat in the AFC South, as you play them and you fall short by just 3 points, maybe you start to look up and you're just like, yeah, maybe we thought this would be a development year and, we would take our bumps and we'd figure it out. But then you look up and you're like, man, we have a chance to win this division. If we just get a little bit better play out of our quarterback, we'll win these games. I think that becomes the issue. And then you said it, when he got hurt, you get to see Flacco in there. And once you see him in there, you can't unsee that. You can't unsee the way your team is moving, not just your offense and the quarterback, but you start to see the way the offensive line, how they're playing in the fourth quarter. All of these little things start to show up, I think, when you evaluate your team. And that to me speaks to, as a coach, all right, what is the vibe I think I'm getting in the locker room? What does my captain's meetings look like when I'm talking to the captains and leaders of my team? So I think that is probably where this stems from the most, of them feeling like inserting Flacco is not just going to help, the quarterback position and all that, but the overall team. It's going to help the defense, the special teams. Everyone's going to have a belief in our team that we can go win games, close games in the fourth quarter, because we have a guy that can go win. And I think the way Flacco helped the Browns last year is really kind of sitting with the rest of those guys in the locker room saying, why can't that be us? He led that team to the playoffs. And I think the Colts have to feel like, hey, we could be in better position in this division with other teams struggling. If we have Flacco, we can go win now and make a run in the playoffs.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.